Right now at 6, a devastating diagnosis. The UNC community rallying behind women's basketball coach Sylvia Hatchell.
I don't understand why he would do that to a young boy. That's a young boy.
A teenager killed by Fayetteville police. We dig deeper into the moments that led up to the shooting.
And violence in Syria. The massive explosion caught behind a live TV interview.
We begin with breaking news tonight on WNCN News at 6. UNC women's basketball coach Sylvia Hatchell diagnosed with leukemia.
And the school announced late this afternoon she will be temporarily stepping away from coaching the Tar Heels. Justin Quisenberry is live in Orange County with the latest. Justin?
And Penn, the key word is temporarily stepping away from her duty. She will still remain involved with the team and will also stay involved in the day-to-day operations of the women's basketball team. Hatchell is receiving treatment here at UNC for her cancer. Last month, she was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. This is her 28th year with the Tar Heels, 39th as a college head coach. She is just one of 3 head coaches in women's basketball to win 900 games. Here's what people on campus are saying this afternoon.
I hate it for her that it's happened. I'm glad that she's taking the time to try to deal with what is a very, very hard issue.
She was actually one of the coolest people I've talked to as a coach. She's really down to earth. She'll tell you what she thinks no matter what.
Hatchell's doctor says she remains strong and in good spirits. Live in Chapel Hill, Justin Quisenberry, WNCN News.
All right, Justin, thank you. And we are talking about a legendary coach. Take a look at the all-time career wins for both men's and women's basketball. Only 5 coaches have won more than 900 games. Tennessee's Pat Summitt leads the pack with over 1,000 wins. Then Coach K at 957, Jim Boeheim at 920, then Hatchell at 908. Bob Knight rounds out the top 5 with 902. You know, when we hear women's basketball and cancer, Kay Yow inevitably comes to mind. The former NC State coach fought through decades of breast cancer treatment to lead the Wolfpack and ultimately raise millions for the cause before passing away in 2009. And look at this great picture. Yow and Hatchell were very close, both from small town North Carolina. And Hatchell, as you see here, was an assistant under Yow for the gold medal winning 1988 Olympic team in Seoul. WNCN wants you to share your best wishes for Sylvia Hatchell. Just go to our WNCN TV Facebook page and leave them under our most recent post.
In other news tonight, family members of a Fayetteville teenager say he was not armed when an officer shot and killed him. Fayetteville's police chief says the officer was responding to a domestic violence call last night on Bertram Place off Cliffdale and Riley Roads. He says the teenager reached for a gun while approaching the officer. Our Brandon Herring has both sides of the story tonight.
Family members say 16-year-old Shakur McNair was the teenager shot and killed by Officer Christopher Hunt. He lived at this home with his mother, Alfrika Bennett, and younger siblings. It's where Officer Hunt responded to a domestic violence call around 6 p.m. and arrested Bennett's older son, who was accused of assaulting his baby's mother.
The young man's mother came up and tried to interfere with the officer and actually struck the officer in the head.
Chief Harold Medlock says Bennett then ran from Officer Hunt as he also tried to arrest her for assault. Neighbor Jaya Naismith says she ran into his front yard.
When she chirped, the cop told her to get down, and then that's when Shakur little sister, and Shakur little brother, they tried to run up on the cop to protect their mama.
Medlock says Shakur McNair didn't back off when Hunt told him to stay back.
The young man pulled his shirt up with his left hand. There was a handgun in the waistband. The young man began to draw that handgun out, and Officer Hunt fired at least 3 rounds.
But Bennett told me off camera today her son did not have a gun. Her 15-year-old neighbor, who was standing in the street, says the same.
No, he was just pulling his pants up because he had his hands like this. He was pulling his pants up, and then that's when he just shot him. He fell back. They tried to run up and protect their mama, and the cop just shot Shakur 3 times.
And police say they did recover a gun last night, but family and neighbors say it wasn't there immediately after McNair was shot. The State Bureau of Investigation is now looking into the case, which is standard procedure, and the family members say they may also ask the NAACP to get involved. In Fayetteville, Brandon Herring, WNCN News.
Now, Officer Hunt responded to the domestic violence call alone. While that's not a violation of policy, officers are now being told to wait for backup during future domestic violence calls. Let's dig deeper into the dangers of domestic violence calls. The Department of Justice looked into police officers who were murdered in the line of duty duty between 1996 and 2009. It found that 14% of those cases were in response to a domestic violence call, and the majority of those deaths happen when someone ambushes the officer without any warning. 40% of those deaths happen after the officer makes contact with the suspect, and 9% happen during a tactical situation, like an officer trying to make entry into a barricaded area. The Department of Public Safety has a best practices guideline for officers handling domestic violence calls. At least 2 officers should respond to the scene, and if not, the first officer should wait for backup. That did not happen in Fayetteville. Once on the scene, the officer should identify potential weapons, and they should separate witnesses from the victim and the suspect, keeping them out of hearing range.
Keeping up with Wake County growth might mean a highway expansion going through many people's backyards. Whose backyard is still up in the air. Of the many routes proposed, the purple route of NC 540 would cut south through Holly Springs. The blue route goes through South Raleigh. Our Sean Maroney live at a public hearing about this expansion in Raleigh. Sean?
Penn, you mentioned all these routes, and that's true. There are many, and there's a lot of questions. Behind me, people for the last few hours, hundreds of people have been filing in and out of the Wake Tech Community College here to get their questions answered. What you can't see inside is the NCDOT officials who are answering those questions with maps and other information about it. Now, where we're standing, we're actually quite close to the orange route that you mentioned, as well as the red one. And so there's still a lot of questions because it's been changing a lot as to where they're going to build them in the end. I'm joined with one concerned resident, Nikki Schiffs. Nikki, thanks for talking to me. You're confused because at one point you were on the route, now you're no longer.
Right, we are on the blue route, and when we bought our property, the blue route had been taken off of consideration, and now it's been altered and put back on, and which concerns us. So we came down here to check everything out and see exactly, how the blue route would affect us, and it goes right over our property, and we're a little bit concerned about that and having to relocate if they do in fact choose the blue route. We have a lot of friends who are affected by all the other routes as well.
Thank you, Nikki. So there's a lot of concern, as Nikki was saying, but construction doesn't actually start till 2018. So people that are here now, they're filling out comments forms that are going to go to the officials, and they're going to put that in consideration when they pick out the new route. And the final road will be set for traffic in 2022. Until then, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information, both on air and online, WNCN.com. Live in Raleigh, I'm Sean Maroney, WNCN News.
Just looking at those route maps, you can understand her confusion. There are so many options and so many things still up in the air. Sean, thank you.
This Thursday, the dysfunction in Washington could reach an even lower level. Default on the federal debt. That's on top of the government shutdown, and it's now taking its toll on kids. Daycares at federal facilities like the Environmental Protection Agency are closed. Our Jonathan Rodriguez reports.
It's not your typical protest, but these kids and their parents aren't happy.
Since we've been out a couple weeks, it's time to come out and, share our message with the public.
We were told we would be shut out of school because we're on campus at the EPA, so the gates are closed and we're not allowed inside.
With the government shutdown, non-essential workers were sent home, and according to the federal government, that includes the more than 50 pre-K teachers who run the day school at the EPA.
We were just really upset. We love our jobs, all as teachers, and, it's hard for the kids being away from their friends this long, and it's just a really bad situation.
Now, most of the employees here at the EPA were furloughed along with the teachers, but there are some parents who are still working and rely on this school to look after their kids.
These guys are contractors, but they take care of our kids on a daily basis.
It's put them in a really difficult situation, not having a place for their children to go.
For the close to 200 kids that go to the day school, it's missing out on exploring their friends and the joys of circle time. But for the teachers, it's missing out on a paycheck with no back pay.
It's hard to eat when you're not paid.
I don't want to be at home. We want to be at work, and that's collective from all the teachers.
In the meantime, teachers like Sarah are babysitting on their own to help parents out. And now they just hope the government will take a lesson from the kids and learn how to play nice.
I hope it just ends soon and we can go back to school. That's all we really want, is to do our job.
Jonathan Rodriguez, WNCN News.
Well, more than 93% of the employees at the EPA have been furloughed.
They help feed thousands across the state, and now they're getting some help from the state, and the timing really couldn't be any better. Governor Pat McCrory announcing today that North Carolina is paying out $750,000 to area food banks. The goal is to allow the centers to stock up for the coming weeks. This because food supplies have taken a hit recently. Delays in state EBT benefits and the government shutdown have both taken a toll on these organizations. Food banks and soup kitchens say that the need has jumped up at least 12% in the past couple of months.
The food bank's mission is no one goes hungry. So we're very grateful for the governor to release funding that allows us to purchase food to go ahead and stock our shelves for those who are in need.
Food bank volunteers say with the holidays on the way, the need is only getting bigger. Can you believe this is now the 8th day in a row that our area has been socked in with clouds? We remember what the sun looks like, Wes. We just haven't seen it in a while. When's it coming back?
Yeah, last week we actually had to go to the Midwest to look at a camera shot of the sun. We will see peaks of sun tomorrow, and in fact, you can already see hints of that behind me. So here's our visible satellite throughout the day today, and look as we get into the late afternoon. See how things up in parts of eastern Virginia starting to thin out there, starting to see some breaks in the clouds? Well, that is going to move into our area overnight and at times will continue tomorrow. So a few breaks in the clouds tonight. We had some drizzle and light rain throughout the day today. Nothing out there really right now, although for the next couple of hours I can't rule out some drizzle because this darn pesky low is still off our coastline. That's got to move before we get into some sunshine. That's what's going to happen tomorrow, but we better do it fast because there's a cold front later this week, and it could coincide with the start of the state fair. We'll talk about that coming up a little later. In the meantime, to track when that sun will come out tomorrow, hour-by-hour forecast. The best weather app in town, just search WNCN WX on your Android or Google device.
All right, thank you, Wes.
Coming up, more charges in the UNC football scandal.
In the first case of its kind, the list of people funneling money to players keeps growing.
But first, we learn about the troubled past of the Raleigh man charged with an armed robbery spree.
There's no mystery like a real-life mystery. The stories you could never write, the clues you could never dream of, and always, the twist. Dateline. Don't watch alone.
On our broadcast tonight, the shutdown continues.
Nothing was simple today.
And we don't appear any closer to a deal.
The human toll is gut-wrenching.
We just need to pull together and get through this together.
Where the world unfolds.
Good night.
Nightly.
Now
live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 6.
Right now at 6, a series of car bomb attacks in Syria. 2 of them went off right behind a political analyst on live TV. Now, he flinched after the first car bomb, then reassured viewers that he was fine. That's when the second explosion went off. Now, in a different car bomb attack, there it is. 15 people were killed. More than 100,000 people have died in clashes between the Assad regime and Syrian rebels.
Accused of at least 8 armed robberies in the last month, a Wake County man facing a judge today, and now we're uncovering more about the guy in the middle of all this. Walter Johnson walked into a Wake County courtroom in a prison suit. He is on $3 million bond, facing 23 charges from robbery with a dangerous weapon all the way to kidnapping, and it's all in connection with these robberies starting in late September. Investigators say they were able to track Johnson down on Glenwood Avenue thanks to continuing media coverage and tips that they got. Johnson, whose family say is married with kids, lived just a couple blocks from Pleasant Valley Road, where many of the robberies happened. Jonathan Carlson was in court this morning, did some digging into Johnson's past today. Jonathan?
Yeah, hey there, Penn. He led a company called 1855 Media, which until recently was headquartered out of the swanky Cap Trust Tower in Raleigh. Tenants there say the office space was recently taken over by another company. We also uncovered the Secretary of State's office notified the company they were being dissolved and their license revoked. And WNCN Investigates also uncovered today the townhouse where Johnson was living has not yet paid property taxes. Johnson and his wife were reportedly having financial troubles. This is something that investigators are looking into as they look at a possible motive, guys.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. In Harnett County, investigators have not identified the shooter or filed any charges in a homicide inside a pastor's home. It all happened Saturday in the town of Anger. Christian Griggs was shot to death in the home. The property records show it belongs to Pat Kissenhall, the pastor of Abundant Life Worship Center. Investigators say Griggs was shot by his father-in-law, who lives at the home, after a domestic dispute. Neighbors who knew Griggs expressed their sorrow.
I called him a friend. I really did like him. He was a real good neighbor to have.
Still not known how or if the pastor was involved in the incident.
It is the first criminal case of its kind in the nation, and the web of people now involved in the UNC football scandal continues to grow. The latest, Georgia real estate agent Patrick Jones, accused of funneling $725 to former UNC football player Robert Quinn, encouraging him to sign with sports agent Terry Watson. Watson made his first court appearance last week. He's charged with 13 counts of athlete-agent inducement. Watson allegedly gave more than $20,000 worth of cash to former UNC star Greg Little. Also charged, former tutor Jennifer Wiley Thompson, who is accused of providing a player money and a plane ticket so that he would sign with Watson.
In tonight's Health Watch, a push today to start getting people in Durham to think smarter about their health. The line dancing kickoff. Check it out. The new Healthier Durham Challenge. The goal is to get 28,000 people in Durham to get moving, eat better, and lose weight. The challenge is the first of its kind in our state. Duke University's health system is starting to get behind the effort as well.
Historically, medicine was sort of taking care of the sick. I think the future paradigm is going to be different. There are going to be models and incentives for health systems like Duke and others across the state and across the country to really focus on how do we keep people healthy.
Well, organizers hope people in the Bull City will put in 420,000 hours of activity, lose 280,000 pounds. It's all tracked online, and the website has resources to help you out. We've linked you to it on WNCN.com.
And now your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein.
Well, it's been a streaky month. We mentioned earlier today is our 8th day in a row getting socked in with cloud cover. 7th day in a row of highs in the 60s, and 14 days in a row of the government shutdown. I can confidently say, though, that 2 of those 3 are going to change tomorrow. And look right here, a little bit of sun trying to peek out as it gets ready to set. Again, our high today only in the mid-60s. It's 63 right now. We did have some drizzle and mist and light rain. Nothing really showing up on radar now, but I can't totally rule out a little bit of that mist, at least in the next few hours. Otherwise, we are dry, temperatures holding in the low 60s. Now, as we get into the overnight hours, we're going to continue to thin out those clouds. That'll allow some more of our daytime heat to escape, and therefore it's going to be a little cooler tomorrow morning, mid-50s. That after starting this morning about 60 degrees. So today's high of 65 going to be the coolest we have the rest of this week, should the clouds and the cold front all come on schedule. So our average high this time of year is 73, and as I mentioned, 7 days in a row that we haven't been out of the 60s here in the Triangle, but we do expect to return to normal, even a little bit above later this week, and that's keeping in mind we've got rain and a cold front coming later this week. So big picture, and we had to go really big to get the whole story in here. There's that area of low pressure that we're tired of seeing. Trust me, high pressure is on the verge of getting in here. It's going to help break up our clouds tonight and tomorrow. But then both these systems are out of here later this week, and it's all about this cold front. Not going to be an incredibly strong cold front, but it will cool us down. It will also add some rain to the forecast starting on Thursday. But not tomorrow. Tomorrow, low weakens, slides away a little. High pressure slides in here just a little as well. The end result is a little more sunshine. Now, if it remains stubborn like it has been for the last 8 days, the forecast will stay cloudy, and it may not get as warm as we anticipated. But that's what we're going with now as we get into Wednesday. High starts to shift away. Clouds ahead of the cold front move in, and it's back to a cloudy day, but 70 should stick around, and dry weather should stick around, but not on Thursday. Thursday, here comes the cold front, so more clouds. Cold front probably Thursday night, so showers late afternoon and evening, and right now it's just a 30% chance. That becomes important for a Thursday because it's the first day of the North Carolina State Fair. So tomorrow, we're excited about little peaks here and there of sunshine. A little bit warmer as well as temperatures move into the low 70s. And from there, we'll go mid-70s with cloudy skies again Wednesday. Here's your Thursday forecast, mid-70s, so comfortable outside. That 30% chance is, again, late afternoon and evening. It's not going to rain everywhere. It's not going to be severe, heavy rain, just a few showers, so that's never discouraged fair rides or eating fried food. Friday and Saturday, some small rain chances, and then we'll dry out as we get into Sunday and Monday. So a little bit of rain out there. I wouldn't let it scare you away from the fair.
But the clouds just keep sliding over day by day. Yeah. Every time we think the sun's
Let's hope this streak doesn't go to double digits or anything.
No, we're done.
We're good with 8.
All right. All right, thanks, Wes. Coming up, he finished in last place, but he's still a champion.
Yeah, the great story of a man with muscular dystrophy who finished the marathon.
The Honda.
Well, it's 26.2 miles,
right.
An incredible journey. So the last person to cross the finish line of a marathon usually has the best story.
Yeah, and that's the case in Chicago. A man with muscular dystrophy finished the race nearly 17 hours after he started. But hundreds cheered on Mikhail Melamed as he crossed the finish line overnight, saying he is a survivor and now he's a champion. The Venezuelan's message, if you dream it, make it happen.
You're right. It's the most beautiful thing that could happen to you. So make the best of it.
I love his attitude. Melamed started running marathons 2 years ago. He has competed in marathons in Berlin and New York.
You see how the camera, they couldn't even get over the guy's shoulder because there were so many people filming him?
Yeah,
because he's the real superstar there. It's worth it.
Yes.
Coming up, Raleigh's Kat Robichaux returns to The Voice.
A preview of her battle rounds. That's next.
Watch Judge Judy weekdays on WNCN.
Well, that is Raleigh's Kat Robichaux sounding off on NBC's hit show The Voice. He's going to compete in the battle rounds tomorrow, but they start tonight at 8 on WNCN.
She can really sing. And for a blast from the past, Kat visiting our studio last year, go to WNCN.com.
Good luck to her.
Yeah, that's the news at 6. Thanks for watching.
We're back here at 7, anytime on WNCN.com.
Brian Williams is up next. We'll see you in half an hour.
Before I